Every week it feels like something huge is happening around this team, but today honestly feels different. We've got two major Rams stories that could completely change the conversation heading into the season. And if even one of them goes the way Rams fans are hoping, this roster might look a whole lot scarier than anyone expected. There's a real sense that something big is building behind the scenes in Los Angeles right now. The front office, the coaching staff, the moves being discussed. It all feels like this team isn't satisfied with just being a contender anymore. It feels like they're thinking much bigger than that. And what's crazy is that these two stories are connected in a way that could reshape the entire identity of this defense. There's a lot to unpack, and some of the latest updates are honestly giving Rams fans plenty of reasons to be excited while also raising a few big questions. So today, we're breaking down both of the biggest Rams headlines making waves right now, starting with the latest update that's got the entire NFL talking, and then we'll dive into another situation that could become one of the biggest trade stories of the offseason. Before we get into it, if you're a real Rams fan, do me a quick favor. Hit that like button, subscribe to Rams House Daily, and help us reach our first goal of 200 subscribers. My name's Jake, and if you truly believe this team has what it takes to bring another Lombardi trophy back to Los Angeles, I'd love to have you here with us from the very beginning. Sean McVay has been trying to stay measured every time he's asked about it, but at this point it's becoming harder and harder to ignore where this seems to be heading. The biggest story surrounding the Rams right now is Aaron Donald, and for the first time since all of these comeback rumors started, it genuinely feels like there's real momentum behind the idea of seeing number 99 back on the field. Nothing is official yet. Aaron Donald has not announced that he's returning, and that's an important detail. But almost every update coming out of Rams camp points in the same direction. Ever since the Rams made the Blockbuster move to acquire Myles Garrett, speculation has continued to grow that Donald started looking at the possibility of coming back, according to multiple reports. He's even been working out at the Rams facility over the past few weeks as he tries to get himself back into football condition. And honestly, if you're a Rams fan, that's already a huge development. This isn't someone casually staying in shape. The idea is much bigger than that. Donald wants to see how his body responds to football-specific training before making the biggest decision of his career. If everything feels right physically, then a return becomes a very real possibility. Sean McVay sounded cautiously optimistic during training camp when he addressed the situation. He said things were moving in the right direction and that once the team returns from training camp at Loyola Marymount University to its regular facility in Woodland Hills, they'd have a much clearer picture of what the timeline could look like. That's a pretty significant clue. The Rams aren't putting any public pressure on Donald. They're letting him move entirely at his own pace, and that tells you just how much respect this organization has for one of the greatest defensive players to ever wear the uniform. NFL Network insider Ian Rapoport added even more fuel to the conversation on Monday. According to Rapoport, Aaron Donald still hasn't officially decided whether he'll return to the NFL, but he also made it clear that everything appears to be trending in the right direction. Rapoport explained that Donald wants complete confidence that he can still perform at the level he expects from himself before making that commitment. In other words, this isn't about publicity or nostalgia. Donald has no interest in coming back unless he believes he can still dominate. And honestly, would anyone expect anything less from Aaron Donald? This is a player who built his entire career on setting impossible standards for himself. What's also interesting is the timeline. If you've followed the Rams for years, you'll remember Donald's contract holdouts before the 2017 and 2018 seasons. In 2017, he returned just days before Week 1 and still managed to begin playing almost immediately. In 2018, he didn't report until the end of August. Those situations could serve as the blueprint once again. Sports Illustrated's Albert Breer reported that Donald and Sean McVay have already established a rough framework if he decides to return. His understanding is that nothing would happen until after the Rams leave Loyola Marymount and return to Woodland Hills. From there, the plan would likely mirror those earlier seasons, gradually ramping Donald up before putting him back into game action. The Rams clearly aren't rushing anything, and from their perspective, why would they? If Aaron Donald comes back, they don't need him playing meaningless preseason snaps. They need him healthy when the games actually matter. Of course, there are still plenty of questions. The first one is his role. Back when Donald retired after the 2023 season, the Rams didn't have nearly the same depth they do now. The defensive line has changed dramatically, especially after adding Myles Garrett. That creates an interesting opportunity for defensive coordinator Chris Shula, instead of asking Donald to carry the entire front by himself like he did for so many years. Shula could rotate him more intelligently while creating matchup nightmares alongside Garrett and the rest of the defensive line. That doesn't necessarily mean Donald would accept a reduced workload. Everything we've seen throughout his career suggests he wants to be on the field making an impact every chance he gets. But having more talent around him could actually allow him to stay fresher while still dominating games. Then there's the financial side. When Donald retired, he walked away from roughly $30 million that remained on his contract. The Rams have since paid out the guaranteed portions, but technically, the contract itself still exists. If he returns, both sides will have to negotiate exactly how that deal would work moving forward. Fortunately, this doesn't feel like a situation where money is creating conflict. Everything we've heard suggests the biggest factor is simply whether Aaron Donald believes his body is ready. Before this offseason, there wasn't much indication that Donald was interested in playing again, but adding Myles Garrett appears to have changed everything. And honestly, imagine being an opposing offensive coordinator trying to prepare for a defensive front featuring Garrett and Donald together. That's the kind of thought that probably keeps quarterbacks awake at night. Now let's move to the second major story, because this one could become another massive domino for the Rams defense. Defensive tackle. Vita Vea has officially requested a trade from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers after contract extension talks failed, according to NFL insider Mike Garafolo. That's huge news all by itself. V has spent all 8 seasons of his NFL career in Tampa Bay after being selected in the first round of the draft, becoming one of the cornerstones of Todd Bowles' defense and helping the Buccaneers win Super Bowl LV over 112 career games. He's produced 35 sacks, 256 combined tackles, 48 tackles for loss, and 79 quarterback hits while earning 2 Pro Bowl selections. Players with that kind of resume rarely become available. The biggest obstacle is his contract. According to Spotrac, V carries a $22 million cap hit. He's entering the final season of his 4-year, $71 million contract and is scheduled to earn a base salary of $17 million this year. So any team interested has to be prepared not only to trade for him, but probably to work toward a new contract as well. Still, several reports suggest V's preference is to return to the West Coast. The Athletic's Ted Nguyen reported that the California native would like to play for a team in California if a trade happens. Immediately, that puts the Rams right in the middle of the conversation. And when Sean McVay was asked about V, he certainly didn't dismiss the possibility. Speaking with Kay Adams, McVay praised the Buccaneers star by saying, "He's a stud." He admitted V has been one of the toughest players the Rams have had to game plan against over the years, before adding that the team feels good about its current defensive group. It wasn't a confirmation that the Rams are pursuing him, but it also wasn't a denial. If we're being honest, this front office has already shown it isn't afraid to make bold moves after landing Myles Garrett. Would another blockbuster really surprise anyone at this point? There's another interesting layer here. The Rams already have one enormous decision waiting on Aaron Donald. If Donald returns, do they still aggressively pursue Vita Vea? Or do they believe Donald, Garrett, and their current defensive line give them everything they need? Those are major roster-building questions, because while adding V would make the defensive front even stronger, the Rams also have to think about salary cap flexibility and the long-term future of the roster. Either way, it's clear Los Angeles is operating like a franchise that believes its championship window is open right now, with Matthew Stafford still leading the offense, Puka Nacua and Davante Adams giving the Rams one of the league's most dangerous receiving groups, and a defense that could become significantly stronger depending on how these situations unfold. It's easy to understand why excitement around this team keeps growing. The next few weeks could end up defining this entire season. If Aaron Donald decides his body is ready, it changes everything. If Vita Vea actually becomes available and the Rams decide to make another aggressive move, that's another statement to the rest of the NFL that they're all in on chasing another Super Bowl. Right now, none of these stories are completely finished. Donald still has the final decision to make. V is still technically a Buccaneer. But the direction of both situations is fascinating, and Rams fans have every reason to pay close attention because this roster could look very different before Week 1 arrives. I'd love to hear what you think. If you could only have one, would you rather see Aaron Donald return, or would you rather the Rams trade for Vita Vea? Let me know down in the comments because I know this debate is going to be a good one. And if you enjoyed this update, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to Rams House Daily. We're still a brand new channel with a goal of reaching our first 200 subscribers, and if you truly believe the Rams can make another Super Bowl run this season, we'd love to have you join our community from the very beginning. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.